Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So I have a special guest today. He might look familiar to you. I shared a part of one of his videos in a Trump regrets video that I did last week. This is Ken Price. He is an Ohio resident and he voted for Trump and now regrets it. So welcome to the show, Ken. It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were able to join me. I really appreciate it. And so I wanted to start off by asking you, I know you voted for Trump in 2024, but had you voted for him also in 2016 and 2020?
No, that was Hillary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was scared of Trump at that time, but through his presidency in 2016, well, there wasn't a war. The world didn't end. And
Mm-hmm.
he kept saying, I do this for you, the people.
Mm,
So, I really bought into that last time. And
yeah,
that's what kind of got me to vote for him again. Plus, I'm against abortion. So,
right. So 2016, you voted for Hillary Clinton. In 2020, did you vote for Trump or you voted for Biden?
Trump,
Okay. Okay. So the
yeah,
last two elections, you went for Trump.
yeah.
And what were your thoughts when you saw what happened on January 6th? Was that kind of a shock to your system, or were you okay with it? Did you think that the
I
election had
wasn't
been
okay
stolen?
with it at all, but he said, "Hey, let's have a peaceful protest." I believe, didn't he? Am I wrong?
He did say that, but he did, drum up and push the idea that the election was stolen. And then he told
Sure.
people, you got to fight like hell, or you're not going to have a
Right.
country. So, yeah, I mean, people definitely took it as a mandate that, we're here. I mean, they were chanting "Fight for Trump," and they broke in.
Well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of stuff is uh, overlooked.
Hmm.
What's the lesser of two evils? And now the regret is he is the evil one, and
Yeah,
Harris not. We would have been better off with Harris.
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. And I wasn't even like a huge Harris supporter. I wasn't like, oh, she's the best thing ever for the country. I just thought compared to Trump, I mean, it was like night and day. But
Yeah. Now looking back, yeah, my
yeah.
family, they're it can start some arguments. So I try to avoid voicing how I feel to
Hmm.
them. That video I made, I came down here. I was frustrated because I was trying to get through to my wife. That's we're the only ones that live here now. All the kids are gone.
Hmm.
So we were talking about Trump, and I mentioned the tariffs, and Trump supporters support him. You cannot, no matter what you say, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, and I came down in frustration, made the video, and that was that.
Yeah. Now, for people who are watching who haven't seen the video that I shared last week of you, I just wanted everybody to know Ken posted a video on TikTok that has now gone viral. It is talking about how he regrets his choice to vote for Trump. It was the worst mistake of your life, I believe you said. So
Yeah,
what was it? Was it the tariffs, or what was the impetus? What was that moment of like, oh my
the
God, what have I
tariffs,
done?
because I thought we're going to hit a recession, and now he's
Mhm.
put tariffs on steel and aluminum,
Yeah, as
and
of
things
today.
just keep getting worse and worse,
Yeah.
with everything.
And did you have any other reservations, or like was that just that it? And then you started paying more attention to what he's
I
doing right
started
now?
paying a lot more attention to what's going on. Hasn't been very long that he's been in office, and it's been nothing but chaos now. Worse
Yeah.
than the first time. A lot worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the Supreme Court said he has basically total immunity, and yeah,
Hmm.
it seems to have really emboldened him to just take these steps that are clearly unconstitutional and illegal. But unfortunately, as other people have pointed out, if he doesn't abide by the court's rulings, there's really nothing that can be done. I mean, there are no guardrails left.
Right.
Now, when I know you're a very religious man. You've mentioned that, numerous videos that you've posted and talked about your
Yes, and
faith and
Trump
how,
has brought the worst of me out. I
yeah,
normally don't cuss, and that's how mad I get about this guy.
yeah,
That's how upset I get. And I am for equal rights for everybody. And so is Christ. I'd like to make that clear.
yeah. Yeah, that's my belief. I mean, I've made my views known on my show that, I believe in a higher power, but I don't feel like I have the right to tell anybody who or what that is. I'm not going to tell, Christians they're wrong. I'm not going to tell Jewish people they're wrong. I'm not going to tell Muslims they're wrong. I mean, how presumptuous of me to think I know better than anybody. But I do have an issue with the Bible because I think that, there are a lot of things in there that kind of, they bring out the negative side of people and target certain groups, and it has caused a lot of death and destruction and murder. I mean, we look at what's going on in Gaza right now, and how the Jewish
Right. And
people
that's
and the
another thing I'm very upset about,
yeah,
wanting to move them people out of their homes.
yeah,
I know the place has been destroyed basically,
yeah,
but
with our
that's what
help.
they,
I mean, let's be real. We're the ones who funded it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, Israel couldn't have done it on their own. They're not a big enough or, wealthy enough nation. So,
right.
yeah, yeah. So the reason I bring up your religion is because how did you kind of square the circle, if you will, of like Trump's past indiscretions, like cheating on
Well,
his wives and things like that, cheating his business partners, defrauding people with his fake university. And, I mean, one man that did work for him at one point committed suicide because Trump just refused to pay him. And the guy tried to fight him in court, ended up losing his entire livelihood, lost his business and ended up taking his life because of him. Were you aware of all of those types of things before
the
you?
cheating, the adultery, yes. And but the guy, no,
Mhm.
no. The biggest thing for me, I didn't care for Trump, but the abortion issue is the biggest thing for me.
So
You
you're
know,
kind of a single issue voter.
but now I look at it differently. God will judge those who do whatever. I feel that abortion's wrong, but I leave it up to God to do the judging. It's not up to me or try to make those decisions for
Hmm.
people. This is a land of the free. We have rights to choose.
Hmm.
And that's the way I'm starting to see life.
Oh,
Everybody should
good.
have a right to choose. I
Yeah.
can choose to worship God,
Hmm.
or I don't have to worship God.
Right.
I choose to worship God.
Yeah. And
So,
nobody should have the right to take that away from you.
no, not at
Yeah.
all. And now, uh, the Christian thing,
Hmm.
Trump delegated for Christianity. I don't even remember what it was, but I feel that's being forced upon people. And I told my
Hmm.
pastor, I have lunch with him every now and then. I said, how would you feel if your kids went to school and seeing Allah plaques on the school walls and were taught about Allah, but yet we're Christian?
Right.
I go, would you like that? And he said, no.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know he's pushing to have the Ten Commandments in classes, and the Republican Party's trying to get funding, even though, they can't afford school supplies, they can't afford a lot of things without the federal government. they're pushing, I think it is in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken, for, millions of dollars in funding for Bibles to be in every classroom. And again, I don't have a problem with anybody practicing any religion, but, they talk about indoctrination all the time,
And that's exactly what
and
it
then this
is.
to me is just indoctrination. I mean, there's no other way around it. So,
Yes. And again, with my kids, and I don't regret it. Uh, when they all lived at home and younger, I'm talking from 8, I've got 3 children.
mhm,
My daughter was probably 12, 13. My son was about 8, and the other one, he's way younger, so he was probably about 2 or 3 years old.
mhm,
Big gap there, But I wanted them to learn about God, not because they were brought up with it, but because they discovered God. And that's way quite a while ago.
mhm,
But most Christians raise their children that way, and it's their choice. That's fine.
mhm.
My kids see me pray. I've read the Bible, but I told them, I go, don't believe what I say. Read the Bible yourself and learn about God yourself. Don't take everything that Dad says word for word.
Yeah,
So I wanted them to learn on their own.
yeah.
I grew up, my mom took me to church, and
Mhm.
that's part of why I believe in God, but my whole life I'm bipolar. And believe
Mhm.
me, should have been not be, I should have been dead a while ago.
Mm.
3 years ago, I had a major heart attack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, due to
Sorry.
COVID, no major hospitals, they weren't accepting new patients.
Ugh.
So 3 times I told the doctor, I want to go where my son works. But for some reason, I said it 3 times. And finally goes, you know what? If you go to the ER, by law, they have to treat you. And thank God
Mhm.
we did, because my wife drove me while I'm having this heart attack
Oh,
an
geez.
hour away and didn't know if I was going to make it.
Oh,
That's the
wow.
honest God truth. And the doctors, after they figured out what was going on, they put a stent in,
Mhm.
and things are good now. But they
Oh,
told
good.
her if 2 more hours would have passed, I would not be here.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
just
Wow.
things like that, to me, proves to me in my life there's a God, because I'm alive. I could go on and on. I mean, but
Yeah.
that would take too long,
Yeah.
take quite a while.
Yeah. And I know you had said to me in messages that you're concerned about Trump taking funding away for healthcare because of your
Yes,
medical
definitely,
conditions.
definitely. Without my medications, I can't live. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
won't live. My heart, there's 2 meds that are very, very expensive.
Mhm.
And without those meds, I might die. And, uh, geez, I'm losing train of thought. I apologize. But with
That's
the
okay.
bipolar meds,
Uh-huh.
those are extremely important as well, because if I didn't have those, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you right now.
Oh, wow.
And the meds alone, right, for a full year, $32,000.
Oh, geez.
That's a lot of money, and I can't
Yeah.
afford that to pay for all of
Yeah.
that.
Now, had you heard that one of the first things he did was to sign an executive order to overturn a Biden policy where they were trying to reduce the cost of prescription drugs?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, that's one of the first things he did. If I'm not mistaken, it was day one or day two that he did
Okay.
that. Yeah, so not good. Now, let me ask you, because you say like the tariff issue was the turning point for you.
Hmm.
Did you not believe him when he said that he was going to do the tariffs before he was elected, or?
He's a negotiator. But when I seen Canada flare up about it,
Hmm.
I thought this it's not good. Then Mexico, they flared back. I'm
Right.
like, this is not good.
Yeah.
And it's paused for 30 days on Canada, correct?
Canada and Mexico are paused for 30 days, but
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't
Okay.
even really get anything for it. They basically just gave him what they had already given to Biden, which was, a
Right.
certain number of troops at their border, but they had already promised that. So, yeah, he got nothing and basically backed down. But like you said, now he has implemented the China tariffs.
Hmm.
They are retaliating, of course. And then today he said that he was going to implement the steel and what was it? Steel and something
Yeah,
else.
aluminum.
Yeah, steel
Aluminum.
and aluminum
I'm
tariffs.
paying a lot more attention than in the very beginning or
Hmm.
before I even voted.
Mm,
My main concern was abortion. And I look
mm,
at Gaza and the destruction and the children that are hurting and the women and all the death.
yeah,
Hamas is evil. I'm not saying, I'm not condoning what they did right.
right,
And Israel has every right to defend themselves
right.
and track down these terrorist groups, but at
Hmm.
what cost?
Yeah.
I've got
Well,
grandkids,
yeah,
and
as
if
I said
somebody,
recently, this is no longer defense, what they're doing.
no, this is genocide.
Yeah, yeah. This is terrorism. I
Hmm.
mean, specifically targeting women and children is just
Right.
horrific.
Yeah. I see the images on TikTok every now and then. I'm like horrified.
Yeah. Now, you were saying before we jumped on and started recording that your wife is still a Trump supporter, your kids are still Trump
Yes.
supporters.
Yes.
So that's got to be tough to
It,
live. It's not like just living in your area where, you also said there's just a ton of Trump support, but having to live with family members who are Trump supporters, that's got to be difficult.
it is. Discussions about Trump isn't every day. I get too fired up. My wife's, she's not nearly as angry as I get.
Mm.
So she's very forgiving with me, but
Mm-hmm.
we really can't talk about it. She tries to reason with me,
Mm-hmm.
but there's absolutely nothing nobody can say to change my mind now.
Yeah.
I've seen too much and heard too much. So
Yeah. So in other words, you thought when he was talking about the tariffs before he was elected that it was just he was going
negotiating
to
skill,
negotiate and try to get better deals for the
go back
U.S.
down.
and not actually go through with it.
Correct.
Mm, okay.
Sure, the heck didn't work that way, did it?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
yet, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and my thought was, and I mentioned this the other day in one of my shows, he said that he was going to implement the tariffs for a couple of reasons, to level the playing field between the countries, and then also because he wanted to bring jobs back to the US. But he's now put this 30-day hold in place without any of that happening. So it's like, well, what
Hmm.
what really was your point?
To
So.
bring jobs back, people are going to be paying a lot more money for goods.
Yeah. Yeah, and prices
And
have
to get
already gone up
people
almost 15%.
and to get people to work for a cheap wage here, good luck.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
going to
and
happen.
he's losing jobs right now with the stuff that Elon Musk is doing,
Hmm.
holding back
Elon
funding.
Elon Musk shouldn't be in there. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
he's not even a natural born citizen here.
Yeah.
That
No,
I really am worried about.
oh yeah. Yeah, because really, like I said, there are no repercussions. I mean, if they just decide, and they've kind of been hinting at this, in their tweets on
Hmm.
Twitter, they've been basically saying like, oh, well, the court shouldn't have a say in what we do and what we can't do. So, if they decide we're just going to ignore it, we're done. I mean, our democracy is done.
I agree with you. Yes. This
Oh
is
boy.
depressing.
Yeah,
I
it
pray
is.
that,
My hope is that as the consequences start to roll out across the country, like we're seeing now, farmers who are losing money through the USAID program that was promised to them, and they've already put out, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars for upgrades to their farms or in food, for various programs. I'm hoping that the consequences will start to wake more people up and they'll start to think more like you and realize, God, I made a mistake. And maybe during the midterms, hoping and praying that we're going to see a turnaround and that we'll at least get the House back in the Democrats' hands. That way, there will be some sort of check on Trump's power, because right now it's just he's like a runaway train.
yeah. And another thing is, I was told there's checks and balances. Right now, I don't feel there's anything.
No, there isn't. Yeah,
So,
I mean, not with the Republicans in charge of the House and the Senate, and then also, having a majority on the Supreme Court. I mean,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is a scary time.
Yeah, it is.
Uh, so what is it that's keeping your wife in his camp? What is it that she likes that he's doing?
I really don't know. I've explained these things. She's brought up the internet. She's Googled it,
Hmm.
and she finds, I'm not going to say excuses, but why are these audits taking place? They're getting rid of the wasteful spending. And then they're bringing up sex changes on chimpanzees that were being performed. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw
And
something about that. I'm not completely buying it. I have to research it a little bit, but they've been lying about so many things like
I do not trust anything, okay,
no.
that
Yeah.
they're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
And
they
in the
tried to say
same
that we were
breath,
giving millions to Hamas for condoms, which ended up being a complete lie.
yeah,
So,
yeah, okay. We're on the same page.
yeah,
I forgot about that, but yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, they're
And
they're they're just yeah, same playbook that he used in the past, just
yeah,
lying about stuff, and unfortunately, I see people, I kind of lurk sometimes in conservative online spaces to see what the vibe is and how people are feeling. And unfortunately, people are sharing these quote unquote news reports from just random. I mean, these are literally just bogus random websites. Like anybody could just go set up a blog and make stuff up. And this is the kind of stuff they're sharing. That it's not
mhm.
legitimate news sources, I should say. It's not.
Uh, I just want to say, Trump supporters say you cannot trust the news,
Hmm.
but how can we trust these lists of things that these audits are saying that they're saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, yeah, especially since Elon Musk's team, we now know, has blocked regular, tried and true, nonpartisan government employees out of these systems.
Hmm.
So, they're saying, oh, well, we found X, Y, and Z, but you can't look at it. You're not allowed to see it. And just today, actually, before we got on, I recorded a video talking about the DOGE team and what a security threat they are. And a couple of news outlets have inside sources that have told them they are actually, and here's the thing you might want to tell your wife. What the DOGE team is doing, what they've found out, is they are actually going in and changing the computer code, like the code in the background that runs the Treasury Department and all these other departments. So, when people on the right are saying, oh, well, they're just trying to get rid of the fraud and abuse and the wasteful spending, I'm totally for that. I don't know anybody who's not for that on the left
Right.
or the
But I
right.
don't believe that's what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, that is not what they're doing. What they're doing, and from people who are on the inside watching this, they have told Wired news outlet and what is the other one? I forget the other news outlet, but it'll come out in my video today. Um, they are telling them that what they're doing is they're inserting code that will allow them to remotely turn off payments. So it seems like they want to be able to just, at their whim, shut off, let's say, Social Security payments or Medicaid payments. And they're also writing in code that will make it harder for people to track and see what payments have and haven't gone out. They're also changing the way that they're communicating with Trump so that
Hmm.
they won't be able to, or we as the public won't be able to submit a FOIA request to see what they're saying to each other or what they're doing. So,
This I didn't know.
yeah, very scary stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, if it was just about getting rid of fraud and abuse and waste across the board, I don't know a single American who wouldn't say, of course, if it's not something that we should be paying or need to be paying, I mean, no, absolutely not. Cut it. But that is not what they're doing. I mean, they're doing some of that, but honestly, it's probably just to pay for Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy.
Yeah,
So,
probably.
yeah. Now, were you aware of that during his first term? Did you know that that was one of the first things he did?
No, I
Okay.
didn't.
So, what was your news source? What was your news diet, would you say?
Every morning I get on YouTube and I'll
Hmm.
watch the recorded ABC nightly news. But for a while there, I hadn't been watching much news of anything.
Hmm.
So I just started watching the news maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks, I don't know.
Oh,
When
wow.
I started seeing all this starting to pile up, and
Hmm.
every day it gets worse and worse and worse.
So, during the election, you weren't paying attention to the news at
Not a
all?
whole lot.
No.
No, no.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, they have done an analysis of people's news consumption and how they voted, and they did show that the people who consume more news on a daily basis voted for Kamala Harris, and the people who either don't consume any news or they only get it from, like, say, Fox or Newsmax, a right-leaning network, they all voted for Trump. So, yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, this is
Explains a
what
lot.
happens when people check out. And
Hmm.
I think we kind of had the reverse issue in 2016. I think liberals and Democrats in general, progressives, had kind of checked, or not really progressives, but more so liberals, um, just your mainstream CNN viewer, MSNBC. A lot of those people, I think, had kind of checked out on politics. And so they just assumed that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And I
I
think that's why progressives were jumping up and down screaming because they were more plugged in and saying,
mhm.
you know, you guys don't get it. He has a real chance of winning. This is a serious issue. And I hate to say it, but at that time, I would consider myself back then to be just a typical liberal, where I, was liberal in my views, but didn't pay much attention to the news until after Trump got elected. And then it was like 24/7 for me.
Well, around here, going to church, a lot of the things we overlooked. Like I say, it's
Hmm.
the lesser of two evils.
Hmm.
And according to Christians, evangelicals, well, Harris is the evil.
Yeah,
And if you keep hearing that enough, you start believing it.
right. Yeah,
but
and
what,
especially if you're not getting any news in your
oh
diet
yeah,
and
you're right, yeah.
yeah, you're not getting any third party independent input.
Views have totally changed in
Yeah.
just weeks, you know.
So you being in Ohio, were you aware of the whole thing with Springfield and the whole, Trump
I didn't
saying that,
believe it. A friend of mine did.
yeah,
I I thought, well, maybe he had misinformed, was
hmm,
misinformed about it. And it was kind of comical when Trump
yeah,
brought it up. Again, overlooked, ignored, you know.
yeah, yeah. Oh boy. Well, yeah, it's got to be tough, being where you live and having
Hmm.
family members. I know, the majority of my family voted for Trump, sad to say. Um, but I mean, not my immediate family, not, my husband. Otherwise, yeah. But I told him back in 2016 that if he voted for Trump, I would divorce him. And I 100% meant it. I
Really?
absolutely would have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because to me, it's not about politics. It's a matter of principle and ethics and morals. And
Hmm.
to know that this man has been accused of sexual harassment and assault by more than 24 women now,
Hmm.
including a woman who says he alleges that he raped her when she was 13 at Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. She
I had no idea about that.
Yeah,
None.
she brought a lawsuit against him for it, against him and Epstein. She filed with three different attorneys. And the reason I know a little bit more about this is because I actually know her third and final attorney. It was Lisa Bloom. And yeah, the first lawsuit she filed against him, I believe, was in the beginning of 2016. She filed it on her own, so she didn't know what she was doing. And the court said, you didn't do this correctly. You need to come back, refile it if you want. She had a friend of hers who was a patent attorney. He tried to file it. Again, he didn't know what he was doing because that's not his area of expertise. And they told him, look, the statute of limitations has expired for criminal charges. You can't, he can't go to prison for this. He can't go to jail for this crime. So the only thing that you can ask is for monetary damages because of the statute of limitations. So she got finally, attorney Lisa Bloom filed the lawsuit towards the end of the election. And then she started getting death threats from Trump supporters. And so I ran into Lisa Bloom in December of 2016 after Trump won the election. And I asked her, is there any chance that she might refile? And she said no. She said she is totally terrified. They were threatening her, they were threatening her family. She doesn't want any part of it. She just wants to move on.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I can understand it. My son
yeah.
found in comments, I think he said 5 death threats,
Oh,
and one
wow.
of them was Luigi. I remember seeing it,
Mm.
but it was the guy that killed the CEO.
Uh,
What was his name? Do you
so he's
remember?
saying that the threat came from him?
No, no, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Uh, Basically, what that kid did to the CEO.
oh, they were threatening to do that to you?
Yes,
That they were gonna like Luigi you?
yes,
Mm.
exactly. That, and I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Oh, okay.
I'm older. I'm not
Wow.
up on that kind of thing,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
language. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, yeah, anybody who speaks out against Trump gets threats. So,
mhm, yeah,
yeah, I mean, that kind of tells you a lot, right? It tells you this is not normal. This is not just a political matter anymore. This is kind of a sickness in our
yeah,
country. I mean, they'll say, oh, you libs, you hate anybody who voted for Trump and, you're turning on your friends and family members, but they're threatening people. They're threatening to kill
Right.
people. So it's like, I think I would rather be a lib who just stops talking to a friend or a family member versus somebody who's threatening to kill them, you know?
Right. Right.
Uh, wow. Well, I give you so much credit for speaking out, and especially, that you are getting these threats that I'm sure this isn't easy, and it
No.
obviously is causing discord in your family, and
Well, I did shut down the, what would you call it, TikTok channel.
mm-hmm,
I talked to a family member and I outright said, this is racist. We're talking about Gaza. And obviously I wasn't getting through to him.
mm,
So I just kind of listened to him. I got quiet.
mm-hmm,
That's all. And then I hung up, I ended the conversation, went back on TikTok, reactivated my account.
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be quiet no more. I can't.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how we cede the country to tyranny, to
Hmm.
authoritarian
Yeah.
rule, is when we stop speaking out. And unfortunately, I mean, we've seen all the news outlets are now starting to cave.
Hmm.
They're giving Trump big fat payoffs. So, wow. Yeah, not good.
Scary times.
It is, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, again, if we allow it, it's just going to grow and it's going to take over the country. So, oh boy. So, anything else? Like, I mean, how does your wife feel about Elon Musk and being so
She
involved? I
doesn't
know,
feel that he should be in there. That she has voiced.
yeah. Yeah, I know that comes up in because as my audience knows, I really like to listen and watch focus groups
Hmm.
because I find them more instructive and interesting than just polling because you can't get a good grasp on where people are at with polling.
Hmm.
They'll ask questions like, "Oh, is the country moving in the right or wrong direction?" And then they'll say, "Oh, see, they said it's the wrong direction, so whoever's in charge, they're going to blame." Well, even when Biden was in charge, I felt the country was moving in the wrong direction because of what was going on with women's rights being stripped and the Supreme Court, giving Trump such immunity and the courts being, taken over and basically shut down with, all of his ridiculous motions and stall tactics. So, and the fact that Merrick Garland didn't move on prosecuting the January or Trump for January 6th right away, holding off for as long as he did. So, yeah, you can tell so much more from these focus groups, and the Elon Musk question has come up, and by and large, even the people who have voted for Trump say, I don't like this. I think this guy has way too much power. He's now the most powerful person in politics, and so yeah, I think Trump runs the risk of pushing it a little too far, of overstepping.
Oh yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ken. Is there anything else that you think my audience should hear or that you want to share about your feelings on the matter?
I pretty much said everything how I felt. I'm afraid
Mm,
that we're not going to make it another 4 years as a democracy. People are scared.
yeah,
They don't want to voice out. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. It's not looking good. That's all I'll say.
yeah. I agree. I agree, and that's why I think your voice and other people like you are so, so vital right now. Because I think people get caught up in the hype too,
Yeah.
I see so many in these conservative online forums that I visit on a regular basis say, oh, I don't know anybody who regrets voting for Trump. And so I think people are just in their echo chamber and, not getting real information, because I know that there are a lot of people who regret voting
We're
for him. I mean,
starting to voice up now. I've seen 2 or 3 on TikTok.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, and Arab Americans, Palestinian Americans, I mean, they are beside themselves right now. I mean, so
right.
many of
Yeah.
them are regretful,
I remember I
either
seen that
sitting it
now.
out
Yeah.
or voting for him. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think, the more people hear, then maybe it will give some people who are being quiet right now, people like you will give them the courage to voice their opinion and feel like, okay, I'm not alone. I do have other people out there who are like me. So, yeah, well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you taking the time out and being out there and being a voice for people who maybe are afraid to speak. So,
Well, thanks for having me.
of course, yeah. I know there are people on my side of the aisle who, some will embrace your message and say, thank you, and we appreciate it. And I know there's others who are going to say, oh, F him, and he voted for this evil, and blah, blah, blah. And it's his fault. I just think that when someone can be strong enough and have the courage to say, you know what, I made a mistake. I want to own that and do the right thing now. We have to embrace that. We have to, praise these people like you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have so many Trump voters in my family, and I wish they hadn't, and I wish they'd have an epiphany like you, but you gotta love them
I'll talk
anyway
to
because,
people and nobody will wake up. They want to stick with Trump. I I don't understand it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, most in my family who stick with him, it's financial. They're wealthy and they want the tax
Yeah,
breaks, but
that's
I
the
don't think
biggest
they
thing, the
realize.
taxes. Yeah, it's about money.
Yeah,
It's all money.
yeah. It's just, I mean, but they're not the kind of wealthy like the people who Trump is planning to help, like
Hmm.
in his first term, something like 81 or 82% of the tax breaks went to the top 1% income earners. So, they may be well off, but they're not billionaires or, 100 millionaires like the people that Trump is actually going to help. So, but yeah, they check out, either they watch nothing but Fox or they don't watch anything at all. And so it's tough. I mean, they still think he's a great businessman, even though he bankrupted
Hmm.
a casino. I mean, you got to try really hard to be on the losing end of a casino when you're the house.
Yeah, I didn't think about that neither.
Yeah, I mean, it's the saying, the house always wins. I mean, how
Yeah,
the hell did he bankrupt a casino?
I have no clue. No clue.
Uh, well, it was great meeting you. Like I said, I truly appreciate you speaking out and appreciate you coming on today and letting my audience get a glimpse into, your thought process. So
Well, thanks
thank you
for
so
having
much.
me. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. And if there's anything else, you want to share in the future, I'm glad to have you back and, we can talk and bitch about
Sure.
Trump together.
Sure. Okay. You take care.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. You too.
Thank you. God bless.